Hi, everybody. I'm Aniela Ungureșan, and my guest today needs no introduction. I have the pleasure of welcoming today one of the most brilliant and accomplished behavioral economists, Professor Iris Bohnet, and somebody that I have the enormous privilege to call a mentor for many years now. Professor Bohnet, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Aniela.
Just to start the conversation, how does your framework differ from the workplace training programs and D&I efforts that we are all familiar with?
So we are trying to suggest a bit of a different paradigm than what D&I might have stood for the last 5 or 10 or even 15 years. And a short summary of our approach is to say that fairness is not a program, but is a way of doing things. So the argument in the book is that we have to embed fairness into everything we do. And that includes hiring, promotion, performance appraisals, how we run our meetings, how we set pay, how we collect data, how we share data, transparency, etc.
Can you please share one of your favorite examples of successful workplace fairness practices that change the system rather than the individuals?
Based on a study that we did with a large employer, one of the largest employers in Australia. And they approached us with the following puzzle. So they had people apply to leadership positions, and then somebody got the job. And then they were hoping that these people, the rejected applicants, would reapply to other similar positions because, of course, they had already gone through their resumes and some of them had been interviewed. And so they wanted to keep them in the pool. So they called us about, with that puzzle, men twice as likely to reapply than women. We asked them what they normally write to people they would like to reapply, and importantly, who they write to. And so they said, well, we write to the top 20% of the applicants, and we basically tell them, thank you for applying. Sorry you didn't get the job. There are similar jobs available. Please reapply. So it's a short version of what they say. And then we suggested to add one sentence, namely, you were top 20%. So I want you to appreciate this for just a moment. It's a completely neutral intervention. We're not favoring anyone, or we're not disadvantaging anyone on the surface. It's more clarity, less ambiguity. People are informed why they get the email, and they get some sense of calibrating their chances. I mean, top 20% still is a big pool, but some sense, some signal from the firm. And it turns out that that one sentence, so this is a randomized controlled trial where we send different messages to different parts of the applicant pool, that this one sentence helped close the gender gap in reapplication rates. I like this study for a number of reasons. One is, I think sometimes organizations are intimidated by the work that fairness might require. And I'm not suggesting to you that it's always as easy. It sometimes is harder, but some changes, in fact, are quite simple. Secondly, I like the intervention because it exemplifies a bit of a more generic point. And that is that ambiguity often is the home of bias. It's also a place where we tend to more likely to rely on stereotypes, whether this is about others or about ourselves. So let's fill in those gaps for people and provide as much clarity as we possibly can.
So you talk a lot in your book about hiring practices. Could you please share with us some of the best practices and the examples, the concrete examples around that?
The screening stage is interesting because many of our listeners surely use an algorithm at that stage. And so we write, like half of that chapter is about algorithmic fairness. The short summary here is that I'm actually quite optimistic about AI, but nervous that we don't test the validity and reliability of our tools enough. I am just very much in favor of testing algorithms the way we test medication, right? We don't need to understand the chemical composition of the headache medication that we take, but we trust that some federal organization has actually done an A/B test or a clinical trial to understand the impacts of the medication. So we have to do that for algorithms too. Why am I interested in algorithms? They can overcome some of the issues that human minds have. So they will treat application, 1550 the same way that it treats the first application. So it doesn't get tired. And we know that that matters actually for human screeners. So it has, some of those advantages. If we could actually get this right, we could affect thousands, millions of people in a way that we can't when we focus on, individual human screeners. However, of course, if we get it wrong, we also affect, thousands or millions of people. That's why the testing remains so very important.